All right. Welcome everyone this evening to Rest and Reset. My name is Marta. I'll be teaching class this evening. This is a restorative class. We'll be going through a short series of poses, holding those poses for 5 to 7 minutes. For props today, you will want a strap that you make a big loop with like this. A few blocks, anywhere from 1 to 3, or some thick books can be handy. 1 or 2 blankets might be nice, and as well as a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, a couch cushion or a thick stack of bath towels works as a nice replacement for that. So the pose this week at Practice Indie is supported halasana. We will have a couple of options to get into that today. And then our theme that we'll be talking about is kama, or desire. So to begin, we're going to start in a supported Baddha Konasana. So, and you can go ahead and hit play on your playlist if you're ready for that. All right, so the setup for this posture, you'll want your blanket folded to a nice kind of long length that'll be good support for your hips. We're going to place that about in the center of the mat, sitting on the blanket. From there, we're going to set up kind of a little plateau with the bolster. So you can set a block behind the bolster at either the medium or the tallest height, and allow the bolster to come just at the top edge of your blanket, making like a little slope. And if you don't have a block, it can always be flat on the earth. You also don't need the bolster at all. Once we've got that set up, we're going to sit on the blanket with our hips scooched all the way up to the edge of the bolster. And then we'll take our blanket, or excuse me, not our blanket, our strap, the big loop of our strap, and we're just going to set it over across our knees so that our knees are in the circle of the strap. From there, soles of the feet come together. We'll lean back onto the little plateau. If you have 2 extra blocks here, you can allow them to prop up underneath of your knees as well. Knees will open out wide for Baddha Konasana. And be sure to get your loop pretty big, so that you can allow your knees to fall to a comfortable level for you. Blocks can be supporting those knees. Head lays back onto the bolster, and you might just have to readjust a little bit once you get there. Arms can come out wide to the side, chest open towards the ceiling. So once you get there, begin to close your eyes, or have a soft gaze of the eyes. And begin to drop into the mat, drop into your breath. Start to notice the feeling of the air on your skin. Maybe the sounds around you. You might hear rain outside, or maybe distant noise from other members of your household. Start to notice all of these subtle noises, and one by one, allow them to drop away. Until the only sensation you are left with is the feeling of your body on the earth, the sound of your breath, and the undulation of the chest rising and falling, belly contracting and expanding. Feel the opening of the knees as gravity pulls them towards the earth. Gentle opening of the hips. Your chest is broad and expansive. Your breath is smooth and even. Feeling fully supported in this posture of opening. Today we are talking about kama, which can translate to human desires. And these desires can range from anything you might think of, desires of what you might want out of life, maybe simple desires such as what you want to eat that day for your meals. And these desires can naturally be a block or a gateway towards our path to our personal spiritual awakening, towards our truer self, our higher self, or you can think of that as just your path to becoming your truest self. These desires can show up as creative compulsions or urges, the need to start or finish a task. So I invite you today to consider some of your personal desires, and what those might be for you. Continuing to breathe softly. Allowing everything to drop in, open up. Settling onto the mat. Breathing with grace and softness. And then just as carefully as you entered into the pose, bring your hands beneath your knees and assist in closing your knees together, removing the strap, setting it to the side, and then we'll bring ourselves up to a seated position. We'll be moving next into halasana, or child's pose. So we're going to take the bolster. You've got some options here. You can leave the blanket where it is. We'll use that to support our knees. The bolster will come in front of us, and depending on what's comfortable for you, you might even stack an extra blanket on top of the bolster for a little more height. If child's pose is not the most comfortable pose for you, you can bring a block underneath of the sits bones or the hips. And even if child's pose is accessible, this just might be more supportive for today. Torso will come long, laying onto the bolster, one cheek resting on the side. And today we'll bring our hands down alongside the body, palms face up, shoulders rolling down towards the earth. Stacking as much support as you need beneath the hips, beneath the torso, so that you feel grounded and comfortable. Feel a softening in the hips. The support of the bolster beneath the chest. Allowing neck and shoulders to relax. Inhale, feel your chest and belly Press into the bolster. Exhale, feel your body draw away. Shoulders roll forward, hips drop down. Belly is soft. Today we'll talk a little bit about Lalita, or also known as Kameshvari, the Empress of Desire in Hinduism. She carries 5 arrows. She's often depicted carrying 5 arrows of flower petals, a bow of sugar cane, a noose, and a goad. And the 5 bows are our 5 senses. The sugar cane bow is our mind. And when we have perfect union of our senses and our minds, we are on the path to our truer or higher self. And within Hindu mythology or lore, when we begin to stray from that path, Lalita, Empress of Desire, will first try to push us back onto the path with the goad. And if we stray again, she'll then pull us back with the noose. There's this constant game of tug of war, following our desires and trying not to get distracted by self-defeating impulses that might not really speak to our truer self. If you're resting on one cheek, you might now turn to the other cheek. Stay here just a few more breaths, a minute or 2 more. Breath in, chest expands. Breath out, belly contracts. Your hips are sinking lower towards the earth. Chest is soft and supported. Tension is dripping away from the upper back through the shoulders and the upper arms. The lower back is soft. Take one more full inhale here. Breathing in deeply, feeling everything press into the earth or the bolster. Then exhale, slowly releasing everything out. And then begin to make your way, lifting your torso up, removing your bolster to the side. Your hips can release from the block, they're supported. And I'm sorry, the bolster can actually stay where it is. So keep that bolster right in front of you. We're going to move into a supported twist now. So our knees are still, we're still resting on that blanket. The bolster is in front of us. We are going to make sure you've got 2 blocks handy. We're going to come forward onto the bolster, allowing our hips to rest right up against the edge of the bolster. Our knees are stacked going towards one side, whichever side you'd like to start on. And then our chest is turning towards the bolster. So we've got knees going out to the side. They can be stacked. You can always place a blanket between your knees for extra support, resting on our hips. Bolster is beneath the stomach and the chest. If your legs are going towards the right, then your opposite arm, your left arm, is going to draw up alongside your ear with maybe a block or a book underneath of the wrist to support the hands. And then your right arm, or whichever side is you're twisting towards, will come to a cactus position with the elbow resting on a block to give a little lift of the arm. Elbow on a block, fingertips towards the earth. Resting on your cheek, you can take your gaze towards your knees and your bent elbow, or if you have the openness in the neck, you can turn your cheek to the opposite direction, bringing the twist into the neck. This is a different variation that we normally come into the twist, so allow your body to be open to it. Very gentle stretch in the side of the body with the arm extended. Soft opening of the front of the shoulder and the bent arm. Knees supporting one another, feeling supported by the earth beneath them. Twisting open from fingertip to shoulder to hip. Inhaling and exhaling. Twisting through the rib cage and the spine. Where can you soften? Where can you release? Relaxing your fingertips. Removing any gripping in the toes. Maybe the glutes. Softening the muscles of the belly. Fully aware of your breath. Coming back to that notion of desire. What do you desire in this life? Where is your path taking you? What desires are distracting you from the path to your truest self? In yogic philosophy, we have a constant tug of war, always finding the balance between everything in life. And with karma, it's the same. Finding the balance between following through with our desires and our passions and not allowing those distracting passions and desires to pull us away from our path. If your gaze is turned in the opposite direction, return your gaze first to face towards your knees, being very gentle. And then draw your extended arm back and begin to press yourself away from the bolster. Lifting up, and then we'll just take that to the other side. So shifting your knees to the opposite direction. Hips resting on the blanket, pressed all the way up towards the bolster. Knees stacked one on top of the other, maybe with that blanket between them. Chest is supported by the bolster. Side to if you are twisting, that arm is in a cactus with the elbow supported on the block. Fingertips on the earth, extended arm, opposite arm extends overhead, hand and wrist on the block. And you might take that gaze in the opposite direction if that feels good for you. Lalita, the Empress of Desire, is depicted as this very beautiful, voluptuous being who exists in perfect harmony and is ever benevolent, with eyes moist with compassion for the world. And there's one story in Hindu mythology. It was a great battle. There's a lot of large battles within Hindu mythology. The stories often take place around that, where Lalita is fighting against Banda, which is a demon of desire in a sense, but in the opposite way, more lustfulness, passionate desires. And Lalita is fighting Banda and his demons with her Shaktis, or her goddess warriors, demigoddesses. And at one point, Banda releases his demon princes to go fight the Shakti warriors because they're not doing very well. And Lalita's daughter, Bala, who is only 9 years old at the time, goes to Lalita and says that she wishes to fight the demon princes on her own. And Lalita turns to her and says, "You're far too young, you haven't been trained, you don't really know what you're doing yet, and I won't allow you to do this." But Bala insists on fighting. She says she feels she needs to, she wants to, she knows that she can beat them. So Lalita breaks down and allows Bala to fight the demon princes with 2 of the Shaktis, or demigoddesses, there to help her. And she ends up defeating the demon princes in the end. And so in this story, Bala can translate to ourselves. We are really but just children following along in our lives. And when we find something that we really feel called towards, something that is worth fighting for or working towards, we can accomplish great things. Follow your creativity, your expression. So much can be accomplished. Sometimes the struggle is just weeding out what that calling really is. And that can often be the hardest part. Feeling the opening from extended fingertips to shoulder to hips. Gentle twist of the upper body. Feeling the support of the earth beneath you. Deep inhales, followed by even slower exhales. Twisting in the spine, maybe in the neck. The wrists are soft. Gentle stretch of the side body. Just a few more breaths here in this twist. Feeling the breath as it moves the tip of your nostrils. And then again, very slowly, if your gaze is turned over that opposite shoulder, begin to turn back, facing towards the knees, drawing your extended arm in, and making your way back up to a seated posture. All right, so we can stay seated on the blanket here. We're going to make another little plateau with the bolster, but this time it will be in front of us. And you might want to use 2 blocks if you have them to do so. So I'm bringing my first block to the medium height, just a few inches in front of me, followed by my second block on the taller height, just a few inches behind that first block. And then the bolster will, again, make a little diagonal across the blocks. And you might have to adjust it depending on the height of your blocks or books. I'm actually going to lower my first block down to the lowest setting, and then keep my second block at the tallest setting. So we just have a little plateau here again in front of us this time. Take both legs to the sides of the bolster, scoot your pelvis all the way forward towards the bolster, and then begin to recline all the way back onto the earth, making sure there's nothing behind you. And then we're going to cross our left leg first to the side of the bolster. So I've got both legs on the right side of the bolster. I'm extending my right leg and then crossing it over my left, like Gomukhasana, so that the outer edge of my right foot is snug against the bolster. So my legs are crossed right over left, like cow face or Gomukhasana, supported by the bolster. And then I'm going to give myself a hug, cross my arms with right arm under left arm. So the opposite of your legs. Give yourself a hug and just allow your arms to be soft. You can keep your arms here if it's comfortable for you. If it's not comfortable, you can always bring your hands down to your belly as well. Either option is fine. Allow your belly to soften. Allow your thighs to soften. Knees to relax. Feel the support of the bolster beneath your legs. Your arms are crossed, you might feel a gentle opening in the upper back. You may notice even more here the rolling sensation of the breath through the chest. Back of the head releasing into the earth, the neck relaxing. With your next inhale, fill up fully, taking in as much air as you're able to. Pausing at the top of your breath. And then exhale, send the breath deep into the hip sockets, the outer right hip. Allowing the breath to massage the hip joints, the muscles of the upper leg. The outer edge of the knee. If you're gripping in the right glute, let it go. Release any gripping in the toes. Fingertips are soft. Breath is smooth. A few more breaths on this side. Softening the knees. If the arms are crossed, begin to uncross the arms, uncross the legs. And then we'll take the other side, so shifting our legs to the outside, the left side of the bolster. And then left leg will cross over right with the outer edge of the left foot, squeezing in on the outer edge of the bolster, right side. And then if you want to take the cross of the arms again this time, it will be left under right, giving yourself a hug. So our legs are left crossed over right, and our arms are right crossed over left. Settling back in on this second side. Relaxing the shoulders and the belly. Soft gaze or closed eyes. Smooth breath. And again, let's take a deep inhale. Filling up completely. Feeling the chest rise like a balloon inflating. Pausing at the top of your breath. And then exhale, slowly send that breath down the body deep into the left hip socket. Massaging that outer left hip point. Softening the left glutes, the left quads, the outer edge of the left knee. Toes are soft. Gentle pressure of the legs on the bolster. Feeling the weight of the hips on the earth. The weight of your shoulders and your back pressing into the earth. Just a few more breaths here. Allowing the breath to guide you into the posture. Feeling the weight of your head heavy on the earth. The solidity of the ground beneath you. Where can you release? slowly begin to uncross the arms, followed by the legs. And then we'll roll to one side, press ourselves up to a seated position. We're moving next into supported halasana or plow pose. If you have any neck injuries or your neck is feeling sensitive today, or maybe you just do not like plow pose, you always have the option for supported dandasana. Supported dandasana would be, you could sit on your blanket, legs straight out in front of you, and then you could stack a bolster, maybe another blanket, maybe even a block beneath you, allowing your body to drape over the supports on your legs. This is a wonderful option instead of plow pose. Still getting all the same benefits. If you would like to go for a supported plow pose, you've got a couple of choices. If you've got a chair nearby, that will work wonderful at the top of your mat. If you don't have a chair nearby, you can always bring the bolster behind you at the top of your mat, so somewhere for your feet to land. And we're going to place our hips at the edge of our blanket and lay down onto the blanket. We want to make sure that our shoulders are going to be fully supported by the blanket. I'll show with the chair first. Excuse me. So we will begin to lift our hips into the air, catching our hips with the hands, and then allow your feet, your toes to rest on the chair. If you don't have the chair, your feet can come down to the bolster behind your head as well. We will not be here as long as the other poses. This will be a much shorter hold. I will show this as well with the bolster behind me. So back is fully supported by the blanket. Hips lift, hands catch the low back, toes come down towards the bolster. Plow can be a very intense position to hold for a few minutes, so be patient with yourself if that is your path today. It can be difficult to breathe in that posture, so try to stay calm and relaxed, using the breath to help soothe the spine and the body. Beautiful choices, everyone. And it's okay if you're in plow to come out. You can always move into dandasana if you've had enough of plow. Coming back to our kama, our desires. Where are we on the path of our desire? Consider without judgment. Are you headed towards your desires? Or are you currently obstructed, pulled astray by some other impulse that may have seemed important or lustrous at first? But upon further inspection, it's just distracting you. We'll take just one more minute here in our plow or dandasana. Keeping your gaze forward if you're in plow. Remembering to stay conscious with your breath. Opening the backs of the legs. If you're in Dandasana, you can begin to roll up slowly from your seated posture. And if you're in plow, using the hands at the low back, begin to gently guide your hips down towards the earth. And then when you're ready, bringing your hands to the earth to brace yourself as you roll down, supporting your body with your core, allowing your feet to come towards the earth. We'll now move into a counter pose to our flexion. We're going to move into supported fish pose. So again, if you like the support of the blanket beneath your hips, you can shift that down towards the middle of your mat where your hips will be. We'll bring the bolster to the top of the blanket. Hips will rest just coming up towards the edge of the bolster. And then if you have two other blocks or form of support available, you can bring those out towards the side of you, approximately where you think your hands will land. Then we'll lower our back all the way down onto the bolster, setting yourself up so that your head is supported and your full back is supported. So you might need to shift around a little bit once you get there, extending your legs long in front of you. And then bring your arms out to a T like wings. And if you have those blocks available, you can rest your wrists, your palms face open on the blocks. Allowing the feet to roll open. Allowing the legs to roll open. Broadening across the collarbones. Opening yourself up towards the sky above you. Gentle extension in your full back here, full range. Hearing the sound of your breath like the ocean. Allowing the tension to roll off your shoulders like water, dripping away. Notice the opening of the throat. Clearing of space there in your throat chakra. The opening of your heart. The center of our desire. Allow your heart to be open to what the universe is calling you towards. breath. Ease and release. Take one deep breath in here. Sipping in all the air that your body can hold. And then sigh it out through the mouth audibly. Letting everything go. Heart is lifted and open. Your throat is open to speak your desires to the world. Your ears are open to hear what the universe is putting out for you. You are welcome to stay here in your supported fish for your Shavasana. However, if you'd like to come into Shavasana, I invite you to lift yourself up off of your bolster very gently, removing the blanket from your hips. I like to fold up the blanket a second time so it's a little thicker, placing it at the top of my mat for a pillow. And today in your Shavasana, I invite you to bring a bolster underneath of your knees. And if you have a second blanket, opening up your blanket all the way, you can cocoon yourself into the blanket, kind of closing everything off after that opening in fish pose. So tucking the blanket under the heels, tucking it in under the legs, allowing yourself to lay down, head on the pillow, just drawing the blanket in tightly around you like a little cocoon. Maybe one hand to your heart, one to your belly. Releasing any control of the breath here in your final posture, your resting posture of Shavasana. I'd like to share one last quote with you. Whether you are a man or a woman, you are the daughter of the goddess or the universe, riding into the battle of earthly experience in your palanquin or physical body. And notice your breath. Begin to notice the air around you. Subtle sounds in your space again returning, the rain falling. Maybe footsteps or soft pads of feet. And then notice your body back in this space. The mat beneath your body. Begin wiggling fingers and toes. Moving from subtle to gross, gradually taking the movements larger. Maybe stretching arms overhead, pointing through the toes. Waking yourself up. And then choosing a side to roll onto, following your path, your desire. Taking one moment in this posture of rebirth. What desires will you follow in your life? How will you let them guide you? And then slowly make your way to a seated posture. Hands can rest in the lap or maybe hands to heart center. Soft gaze of the eyes or maybe eyes closed. The divine in me honors and acknowledges the divine in each one of you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Namaste.